Happy Halloween, everyone. I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we are going to deal with the NFL Week 9 Fantasy Football Waiver Wire. I've got Jesse with me today. How's it going, Jesse?
Going good. We're getting everything prepared for Halloween. It's a chaotic day in my household. My daughter's 4, so she's super excited. Dressed her up like Danny Go this morning. She was pretty pumped. So yeah, that was the start of our day. We're going from there. How about you?
Not bad. I've got a weird setup going on. My computer in the other room is, I don't know, I think that power surge fried it. It's an older computer. I need a new one. So I'm still using that for all my work. I do all my articles, all my research. So all my hardcore data is on there. But I got my kid a brand new gaming PC for just under $3,000, like about 2 months ago, maybe a month ago. So I brought my mic in here. I brought my webcam. He's got a pretty sick setup. So I feel like half naked because all my graphics and stuff are on the other computer. But at the same time, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I kind of dig his setup. He's got an ultra comfy gaming chair in here. And I like the quality's better on his computer because it's 90 times better than the piece of crap I'm running. But so who would have thought all I needed to upgrade my podcast was to move into my 9-year-old's room? Got a pretty sweet setup in here. My kid might be a little spoiled. I'm not gonna lie. He's got a sweet, comfy little desk. He's got his setup's almost better than mine. I've got mine where I have my computer, then I have a secondary computer, and then I have my TV above for my Fire Stick for football. He's got himself a nice gaming computer here. Then he's got a big screen TV next to his desk with an Xbox One S or a Series S hooked up. Damn, this kid's got a good setup in here. I might just podcast. I was like, I only want to do it temporarily, but I'm not minding this. So, right. All right, let's get into this. These have not been fun the last few weeks, let me tell you that. No. The waiver wire has been ugly. More so this week. We will start with quarterback, where it is a fucking wasteland. That was in one of my DLF articles earlier this week, how, we thought, you want the high-end quarterbacks this year, but it's going to be deeper than ever. There's lots of options. Damn, between guys underproducing, a lot of the QB2s that we thought would take a step, like Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Jordan Love, they're all useless. We lost a couple of the guys like Daniel Jones, who we thought would be a low-end QB1. He's been shit. Then he's been injured. Then we've got what? Cousins, Rodgers. What other quarterbacks have we lost for the season? I know we haven't had Kyler.
Yeah, we haven't. There's a couple other guys. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it feels like we've lost just so many quarterbacks this year.
Then we lost 8 this week. We lost Stafford went down. Deshaun Watson's been in and out. Derek Carr was hurt. Good God. Tannehill was hurt, and he sucked, and he's old, and he's hurt, and he sucks. But let's take a look at Sleeper's waiver wire trending here, and you'll see the top 10 quarterbacks. We've got us some Will Levis and his mayo in the coffee. That pains me because I traded him not that long ago. He was my QB1 in this class, which just shows you I'm insane. I thought the talent was there. I don't think he's this good. 4 touchdowns against a who the hell did they play?
Pittsburgh,
okay. But why does it say Thursday at Pittsburgh? No, who did they play?
Oh, sorry, they played Atlanta. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm it says Pittsburgh this week. So we got Will Levis. Yeah, a lot of these, basically, if you're adding any of these guys on the top 10, this is, super flex options here or desperation. The only one, I'll go through the list, but out of the ones on their top, top 14, Sam Howell, I don't mind if I have to in a single QB. If I'm desperate, if I have Kirk Cousins and there's nothing, I'll start Sam Howell. Dak obviously does not qualify. I don't mind him as a Sam Howell range. And Kyler's someone I've been stashing. So realistically, there's only 3 options here out of desperation in a single QB league. Kyler, Dak, and Howell. I think I prefer Dak the least out of the 3, but is there anyone else on this list of 14 here that you would play in a single QB league?
I mean, it depends how desperate you are, but So I'm looking on ESPN right now. Kyler's only at 31% rostered, so I don't know like why the massive difference between him and Sleeper. So yeah, obviously it's Kyler. Like if he's playing this week, you just get him. But like I'm fine. Like I'd honestly, if I'm desperate, I'll go with Levis in the matchup against Pittsburgh.
I find, you know what the funny part is? It's a lot of it is default settings. I find a lot of my sleeper leagues, the default settings allows for more IR spots and deeper benches. I think that's what it is. Like I only play on like 2 or 3 ESPN leagues every year, and every year it's basically like 4 or 5 bench spots, 1 or 2 IR spots. Whereas like this transit league here, this is my redraft work league. I bet you if I looked, it's probably 6 or 7 bench, just default league settings. So
right. I mean, you could like if you wanted to, you could go Baker. I'd be fine with that. It's a tough matchup against Houston. It's just really depends how desperate we're talking about. If we're pushing into that QB 20 range, then it's just like fire shot on Levis or Baker or any one of those guys. Because if you're that desperate, you're just looking for a body. So like, yeah, any one of them.
So we'll run through these. Will Levis looks like he's going to get the start this week. He's a dynasty stash for me. He was a dynasty draft for me. I have no interest in playing him this week. I don't care how good he looked. Jaron Hall, I'm not even sure he's going to be the quarterback this week. I know he's number 1 up on the depth chart. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings don't trade for this guy right here, Jameis Winston.
They got to bring somebody in. You can't. We saw Jaron Hall. He's he's a bad quarterback. He's not.
So I agree. They have to bring someone in, but they suck. They're not going anywhere.
I know. It really sucks for fantasy, right? Because all those guys they have, like Addison, Hawkinson, and even the running backs, and it's like when Jefferson comes back, like this just neuters the entire offense. Where I don't want a piece of Jaron Hall as starting quarterback. Like I just don't want to start any of those guys. It sucks. It's like
we're going to ignore Taysom Hill because he's a tight end. That's
you could do worse than Taysom Hill. They're playing Chicago, so if he's getting looks, it's like, man, that's where we're at.
Derek Carr's another one where if I'm desperate, I can play him in single QB. He's more of a 2 QB. I was actually surprised with how brutal it's been that he's actually 39% owned. But again, this league I'm set on is a 1 QB redraft. So that's why I bet you if I click on here, let me click on Scott Fishbowl. My team's terrible.
Like 100%.
You should see. I bet you it's a lot higher. No, this team, my first 3 picks, I hit Mahomes. And then after that, I lost my next 3 starters. My SFB team's brutal, but it's only 39% in redraft. So I guess I don't know. Does it not change? Does Sleeper not change their ownership?
I think it only changes based on like if it's dynasty or if it's best ball. It'll switch for you.
Stupid.
But, I know that would be.
See, that's why sometimes you get it skewed because I would be willing to bet that Derek Carr is not available in any of your super flex leagues. If he is, scoop him up. Same with Sam Howell. These guys are 2 where on the borderline here. Where I bet you these guys are not rostered in majority of single QB, but they're owned in every single super flex league. So
yeah, you're talking about like getting Nick Mullins or something. Those super flex.
Well, yeah, that's what's next. Yeah. We've got Nick Mullins and Jameis Winston in name your Vikings quarterback. So that's just throwing darts. These are guys where I don't know. Okay, so if you got to make a bid, you know what I've gotten to at this point with the waiver wire, how bad it's been? The last 2 weeks, I haven't been putting in any bids, except for 2 weeks ago. I forget, there was one guy I liked, but I haven't been putting in any bids, and I've just been scooping up what was left over. Let's answer sometimes you got to get in there. Considering my team in redraft full PPR, would you give up Diggs for Pacheco and Wilson?
Gosh, I really
just a sec. Okay, so he's got Fields. CMC, Road. No, you can't afford to give up the running back.
Well, he'd be getting the package for Stephon Diggs. So
sorry. I read it backwards. Okay. Yeah, then you have to do this because so Diggs to Wilson is a huge downgrade, but you still have 2, possibly 3 legit studs. You need Pacheco more. Like Pacheco's your RB2 easily.
I just want the thing with it's frustrating. Like Pacheco's solid, but like it's a massive downgrade from either one of these guys from Diggs to them. So I'd want someone a little bit higher up on the totem pole than the Pacheco, Garrett Wilson. But yeah, like this idea to diversify, I'm totally.
I think Garrett Wilson gets better. I think I make this deal, but just like there's a follow up. Would it change if I got Keenan
Yes.
Allen? Yes. Okay, there
Yes.
you go. If you
I
can
want
get
Keenan
Keenan
Allen.
Allen and Isaiah Pacheco, you smash the shit out of that.
That's
I
way better.
agree. I think Wilson's on the rise. I take the deal either way, but if I can get Keenan Allen instead, I fucking smash Allen.
That's the more ideal, like the ideal deal you're trying to, where you're not really dropping down that far from Diggs to Allen. It's like a small drop off, and then you get a nice running back.
I do both. I like Allen significantly more, but that's not to say that it could be like Allen could end up being worse. Like I get it. The quarterback situation sucks, but it's always sucked for Garrett Wilson. I think Wilson's kind of underrated right now. Where I get it. Zach Wilson sucks, but I think I do the deal either way. But
if they had Aaron Rodgers, like Wilson would be a top 5 wide receiver this year, like no doubt in my mind. He's been off the charts good.
Yeah, so do either of those, but I like the Keenan Allen one better.
Same.
So what I was saying was, I don't even put in bids anymore. I just wait and I scoop up whoever goes unclaimed. I'm just saving I don't want any of these guys. So
I did that in Scott Fishbowl. Like I just waited, and a couple weeks ago I just picked up Will Levis because I was like, Tannehill sucks, whatever. And then just magically I have a starting quarterback now, and I didn't have before. I was like, hey, it worked out. Like sometimes that's how it works.
Well, it doesn't help too. A lot of the leagues, like Scott Fishbowl alone, I mean, there's no waiver wire. I lost a lot of players early. Like I had Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Cooper. I had a whole bunch of players who I was out early. So I spent a lot of money early on Puka, Kyron, Moss, players like that. So I have a lot of leagues where I've blown most of my fab budget. So it's like I have 20% left. So, a great player comes up on waivers, I'm not getting them anyways with my 20% bid. So it's like, fuck it, I'm just going to bid nothing, and I'm going to take for free whatever comes up. So if you can do that, I would do that. Like I said, if you're in Superflex, Carr, Howell, Dak, and Kyler should be absolutely rostered. If I'm in a single QB, I'm not wasting any bids on Levis, Hall, any of the okay, with the exception of the guys I named, I'm not wasting any bids on these. Jameis, Baker, Heineke, Minshew. I don't really want to put a bid in on any of these. I'm just gonna take whoever's available. Like I don't mind Gardner, I don't mind Baker, Jameis if he goes somewhere. I don't. Aside from the top 4, like I'm not convinced enough with Will Levis that I'm going to blow my fab on him and start him this week. Like, even if I were to get him for free this week in a desperate situation, I don't know if I'm still not taking Derek Carr
you're not.
and starting.
You're not feeling 100. Like, so the way I would target quarterbacks this week is if you need quarterbacks, is just place small bids on multiple guys and then just be happy with the one you end up with, right? Don't blow all your bids because, like, they're similar. Like, I mean, Baker's been pretty good for fantasy points. He's not a great quarterback, but, like, for production-wise, he's been pretty solid. So you could roll with Baker or any one of these guys. It's just depends how desperate you are in the situation. But if you have a lot of guys available in like a traditional redraft league, then you don't really need to pay up unless it's Kyler. Like Kyler's the one guy I do want to pay up for.
I'm really disappointed that Sleeper doesn't break it down further into what's it called, Superflex and single QB ownership, because
that would be nice.
That's a lot more helpful than seeing what the rostership is, because kind of useless. If you had one quarterback you had to pick out of this group, one quarterback that you think overall that you think you would want, just one quarterback out of this group here that you think you'd
oh gosh, I guess Sam Howell, but like I have zero confidence in that. So like it's Sam Howell just because he's put up the best points so far this year, but I really don't trust Carr even though he has the best schedule by far. Like I just hate Derek Carr. I can't do it. So yeah, I'll go with Sam Howell and just enjoy the roller coaster ride, I guess.
I never really thought of it. I've got the background. I've got my waiver article for the league winners up, and I'm just looking at Taylor Heineke, and it's not a Heineke question. Do you think assuming Heineke gets the start this week, what do you think it's going to do for Pitts, London, Bijan?
I actually like it. He's a better quarterback. Yeah, so for those assets, I like it. Heineke's weird. The way like he produces is kind of strange. Like he'll support those guys just because you look at him throughout the course of his career, he's just been a better quarterback than Desmond Ridder, right?
He only threw. So he only played half the game. He threw 21 attempts in about half the game, so 42. So it still isn't a huge high pass volume offense, but
yeah, he's very much on that up and down roller coaster depending on the matchups. Like he can give you some nice weeks, but yeah, it's rough sometimes with him. Like his 2021 season, he put
half a game though, 175 yards in half a game. That's what you're putting him on pace for 350.
Yeah,
350 and 2 with 42. That's a decent stat line.
Yeah, he'll turn it over and some things like that. So like he's volatile. Like that's the best way I'd describe him. But if you're desperate, like you could roll with him too. Like
I don't care if he turns it over. I'm not starting him. I just want to start his
no,
offensive weapons. So I
yeah,
don't give a
exactly.
shit if he turns the ball over. So moving on to running back, we have Leonard Fournette, who is now signed with Buffalo. Gus Edwards, who is the guy I'm always terrified of, because every time I finally buy in on Gus, they go back to Justice Hill or he just doesn't do anything. Similar situation here in Arizona with Amari Demarcado. They seem to be flip-flopping back and forth between him and Keontae Ingram. 55% snap share. Yeah, that's something I want to target in a waiver wire. 78 yards on 20 carries, though. So why is he high? Half the snaps, 20 carries, 78 yards. That's like, what, 3.75 per carry?
It's somewhere in that range. He's
so.
like, if you need a short-term guy, he's by far the best option because he's going to get the work. And we've seen these past 3 weeks, he's been the most involved in that backfield. It's just like, he's going to be in the passing downs and all that work. It's just like, with Gus Edwards, it could be better. It's just,
we have almost the identical line for Gus Edwards. 52. Yeah, except with 3 touchdowns. So
he's been good in the last 2 games. It's just I don't trust them to have these giant leads like they've had the last 2 weeks. So like Seattle's a better team than they played. So like, I don't think Gus Edwards is just going to have a great day. And Seattle just did boost their D-line by getting Williams from the Giants too. So like I don't think Gus Edwards is going to have a great day against Seattle.
Personally, I think out of these, so we'll round it out with Darrell Henderson, Royce Freeman, and Devin Singletary. If I have to pick one out of these guys, I think I'm going Gus on a 1 week. I don't really want any of them. This is a case of where I'm not putting bids in on any of these guys, and if I do, it's $1. And if I need a running back, I'm just taking whoever's left. I want absolutely nothing to do with Royce Freeman here. What did he get last week? Did he do anything? 53%. Another wonderful yards per carry here. Oh, it says yard per carry. I'm doing the math. I didn't even realize it. So how close was I on? Oh, 3.9. Oh, see.
He's been okay. Like, not great, but he's been okay in that offense. But, like, my whole thing with DeMarcado is, like, they're getting Kyler back. So, this is James Conner dependent, too. So, if James Conner injury lingers further, like, then you get DeMarcado the rest of the season with Kyler. Like, that's a dart throw I'm willing to bet. But, like, you can do this with Fournette. It's very similar. He's going to get the passing down work, goal line work. So, he'll have a role, but he needs an injury with James Cook. So, it's all these guys have issues. But if I need points this week, I'll go DeMarcado. Long term, I'll just go Fournette or Gus Edwards or whoever else.
We switch over briefly. We see my column here. I've got Gus, A.J. Dillon, Jalen Warren as my shallow leagues. Chuba, Akers, and Roshan. I still can't get off the Roshan train here. I think he breaks out eventually. Deeper leagues, we've got Zeke, who just seems to find his way into the end zone. Zach Charbonnet, who I thought I watched part of that game because I have Walker in quite a few leagues. And I remember sitting there going, fuck, it's Charbonnet again. Fuck, it's Charbonnet again. He's killing me. This is bad news. And then I looked at the stat line and he had like no carries. I must have literally tuned in for Zach Charbonnet's like 4 carries all game. And it just, so I put him in here because I'm going, I think he's becoming a threat. This is starting to worry me. And then I looked at the stats and I was like, he had like 4 carries. So he did look good. I don't mind him as a stash. Then we've got Jeff Wilson, because anytime you can stash a Miami running back, it's worthwhile. He's not necessarily a 1 week option, but he kind of has to be a 1 week option because I think in 2 weeks they get A-Chain back. So he's a tough one where you don't want to play him this week, but you may not be able to play him next week. So, and then we cap it out with Chris Rodriguez, Josh Kelly, and Amari DeMarcado, varying degrees of dart throws. Who's your favorite off of this my little column here?
So I really like Hubbard of these guys. He's seen a ton of work, and Miles Sanders just sucks. I don't know what's going on with that offense, but like Sanders lost snaps to Blackshear.
Was he still out with a shoulder injury?
He played, and Raheem Blackshear got more snaps and like
I see that.
than him.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? Yeah. So like Hubbard, I'm basically targeting guys who are going to give me production this week. It's going to be like Hubbard. It'll be DeMarcado. It'll be Edwards. If I want to stash, it's going to be like Fournette. It'll be Charbonnet based on an injury, because if like Walker gets injured, then you have like immense upside with Charbonnet. So like that's the type of path I'm targeting. But like the rest of these guys, it's just really, and you can go with Roshan. I still like Roshan. It's just, we don't know when Khalil Herbert's coming back, and then it's also the issue of Donta Foreman. Like their whole kind of it's a mixed bag, similar to Miami with those guys.
I love me some Roshan.
Yeah, he's really good.
I don't know when Khalil Herbert's due back, though. Is he due back?
I think it's a couple weeks out. Like, I think he's week 11 he comes back maybe. So he's got a couple weeks. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. But, like, he's going to play a role when he comes back, too.
Alrighty, next up we have wide receiver, which is always fun. Like I said, this is always a position. Unless I'm really sure of someone, I'm not blowing my budget on this. I tend to spend all my money on running backs because, as we see, he had an okay game. But if you blew all your money on Josh Downs, he was good. Didn't do anything crazy. Like 7 for 72 is a solid game, but. What do we got here? So we've got Demario Douglas because Kendrick Bourne is done for the season. He also looked pretty good. He has looked pretty good. He always seems like he's just not quite there. 5 for 25. I don't mind Demario Douglas. Rashid Shaheed seems like he blows up, then like blow up, dud, 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 blow up, dud, blow up. Like he's really boom or bust here. It also seems from looking at this, the blow up games tend to be touchdown reliant. Good game, touchdown, good game, touchdown. Good game, touchdown. So the only 3 times he's topped 12 points, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. So there's worse options to flex. I'm not really blowing my budget on him. Jahan Dotson, I'm stashing just in hopes that this is actually for real. But the problem was I thought Jahan Dotson was a good buy low in case he got back to his talent. The problem is after this week, you see 8 for 108 and a touchdown. If he was your buy low, the window is closed. You're probably not getting him low anymore. Everyone's going to say, oh, he's back. So I don't mind Jahan Dotson. Khalil Shakir is kind of a dart throw for me. That's by far. He has more yards in this one than he had the rest of the season combined. I've never been a huge Shakir guy. I always just thought basically he's a dart throw. Jaden Reed. I like the player, but I don't like the pass catchers here in Green Bay. It seems to be a revolving door of who's going to be useful. I don't mind him. I'm not blowing any money on him. Josh Downs, I think, is easily the best player on this list. Well, okay, maybe not. Maybe it's Jahan Dotson, but
yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I think Jahan Dotson's safer, but Downs has more upside. As you see, he's got 3 great games in a row. Some touchdown luck here, but
I mean, yeah, he still had 9 targets last week. It's a solid game. It's just, he didn't blow up. Yeah, he's really good, right? Like, it's the whole Gardner Minshew effect. Like, he's going to support him. So, like, worst case, you get 10 points. Sometimes you get 20, 25. So, like, with him, as opposed to Shaheed, he had, 3 receptions last week, where that's just, you can't trust that. He's clearly a best ball guy. If I have Shaheed in a best ball, like, I love that because he's going to boom and hit for you. But, like, outside of that, you can't start Shaheed. You don't know when.
So you're telling me 51 yards per target isn't reliable?
Not so much.
It really says 51 yards per target.
It's absurd. Yeah, it was 3 for 150 something? It's like, goodness gracious.
3 for 150. Yeah. Do I have it up on the screen? Yeah, I did. Okay.
Yeah.
So my favorites would be Josh Downs first, Jahan Dotson second, and then I probably depends. If I need someone who I can flex week in and week out and hope he gets me 10 points, Jaden Reed. If I want like you said, boom or bust, best ball. If I want a ceiling play in my flex, I'd rather go Shaheed, who's either going to put up 30 or 3. Whereas Jaden Reed's going to put up 8 or 10. So it all depends on what you're looking for. Like it's 12, 11, 2, 11. Like he seems to be in a solid range where Shaheed's all over. It's 20, 26, 6, 6, 4, 27, 30. So that's how I rank those 3. What do you think?
Yeah, I would. So I'd have those first 2 guys like a tier above, and Dotson and Downs. Like those are clearly guys involved in like offenses, and they're good players, so they're going to be above. And then you get into this like Demario Douglas and with that Khalil Shakir range, where they have upside to be like Pop Douglas is basically just doing the Jacoby Myers thing from last year. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 on a bad offense, but he's going to get targets, so he has that. And
he's a good stash though with Kendrick Bourne going down. I don't mind like his. Look at his snap shares increased gradually to 77%. I got to imagine it's going to be in the 90s with Kendrick Bourne going down. I don't love that offense, but 7 targets, 6 targets, like he's got a decent stash here. This might be someone I might try to acquire him cheaply to someone who doesn't pay attention because Kendrick Bourne going down for the season isn't a notable thing. Like he's not exactly all over the fantasy radar. So there's a lot of people who might have Douglas who might just not realize Bourne is done for the season and might be like, Douglas, what did he put up this week? Was it a good game? 7 points. That might be a decent buy low or a waiver stash, but he's still third or fourth. Like it's still Downs and Dotson by a mile, and then stash, upside, floor is what I would say. How I would rank.
So I'd rather have Shakir over Reed. I just hate that offense and what Jordan Love's doing. And like Reed's been just super boom bust, where he just kind of disappeared in games when all of them are healthy. So like I'll take Shakir because now that Dawson Knox is out of the picture, Shakir gets all those slot snaps and he's going to be involved in the offense more. So like he'll at least give you a much higher floor, and the ceiling's pretty similar to Reed. So I'll take him just in that offense over like Reed.
Alrighty, let's take a look at this side here. Did I bring that up? I did. Okay. My shallow league options, if any of these guys are still available, like it says 70s here. If you're in a 10-team league, I get maybe you don't need them, but I like Cortland Sutton for sure. I like Rashee Rice, and Jerry Jeudy would be third. They all have to be owned. Even in this one, the medium tier here, Josh Palmer, Josh Downs, and JSN pretty much have to be owned everywhere. These guys here, obviously, I wrote this before I found out Kendrick Bourne was done for the season. I'll have to update that now. Tank Dell, Tutu Atwell are decent options. And the dart throws here, Johnson, Bobo, and Douglas, I think have all shown decent upside, so I don't mind any of them. Is there anyone here who stands out to you? I mean, aside, I think Sutton and Rice are the obvious, if they're available.
If you can get Rice, like that's a must get, just because he looks like to be the guy in that offense besides Kelsey. But yeah, like if you're getting into the deeper league options, like I really like Tank Dell. Like he's still a very good wide receiver. They just had a bad game. Like they really were dared to run, and Houston just ran it a bunch last week. So it kind of killed him and Nico. But overall, like I like Tank Dell. And then if you want the upside shot, like you take QJ. He was finally involved in the offense. You don't know how it's going to work out. Could be awful, but like he finally saw a glimmer of something. So like they need that production. I think Palmer like hurt his knee, but he's back, and I don't know what's going on with that offense. So yeah, you can take a flyer on QJ.
I didn't have time to dig into it. I'd like to see what the ratio of targets he had with Palmer in the game and with Palmer out of the game was, because that's what I'd like to know. Was his target share this week a result of being the only one left out there besides Keenan Allen, or was it an active thing? Moving on to close it out with tight end, there are some decent options I like at tight end. A lot of my stash guys have been coming through. Michael Mayer on the trending down. I don't understand that. I thought Mayer, I get it. He had a bad game, but the Raiders sucked last night. Yeah. Devontae Adams had the same stat line as him. So how you get it?
Devontae. He had 2 walk-in touchdowns. If he just gets hit for 150 yards, and he just missed them. No wonder he's so frustrated.
So we've got 9 on the list here. Trey McBride, who's somebody I've been all over for weeks now, just holding on to. He had 14 targets, 10 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. My only fear here is that it doesn't translate over to Kyler Murray. Maybe Kyler doesn't like him. Or even worse, maybe Clayton Tune doesn't like him next week, because they already said it's not going to be Josh Dobbs. It's either Tune or Kyler. Still, he's easily my favorite stash. I don't know if he has immediate playability. I don't know if I'd want to risk him next week with a new QB. Taysom Hill is Taysom Hill. You can, if you want to deal with the headache, go for it. Every time I need him, he lets me down, but he's actually kind of being used as a legit tight end this year and not just a gadget player. He's not terrible. Njoku has kind of been disappointing. He had a good week this week, touchdown, that'll do it. That seems to have boosted him from the average. You know what I like on my phone? It shows in this column here on my phone, tight end 3, tight end, whatever's my. I hate that the desktop app doesn't do that.
The desktop app's just not as good, unfortunately.
I know.
I've noticed that. I'm like, man, just fix it, Sleeper.
I can't use the phone one on my
right.
problem. So like I said, he's been mediocre. Touchdown saved him this week and got him probably as a top 5 option. He's not really likely to be available in most leagues, I would say. I think it says 67% rostered. That seems low to me. Dalton Kincaid is another one of I've been all over my sleeper column or my stash columns, like waiver stuff. The young tight ends. I've had McBride, Mayer, Kincaid. Well, Laporta, everyone knows about now. Ferguson, I'm all over the first and second year tight ends this year, which is not like me because I'm typically a give me the old fucks. But
it's a good tight end class, man.
Changing of the guard here.
They're really good. And if you can get Kincaid, smash Kincaid. If he's at all available, I'm throwing a hefty fee at him because the way he's used, his talent in that situation and that offense, that just answers everything. You get a top 8 tight end rest of the season. So yeah, him for sure. But if you can still get McBride, he seems the most likely option of those guys. I love McBride and what he's done. finally he's being used. Ertz is on IR. You don't have to worry about that anymore. It's just, and Kyler supported Ertz the last couple of years, so like he's fine throwing it to tight ends. The difference is like you can get downfield with McBride. You couldn't do that with Ertz. So I'm curious to see if it's like a farther A dot or if it's just a bunch of checkdowns to use them similarly. But like, you know what? It's worth taking a dart throw on because like Njoku's probably not available. You have to kind of go down to this further range. But yeah, like once you get down to the Logan Thomas range, it's kind of whatever, right? So I'll shoot my shot on Kincaid or McBride or one of those guys. And I just want freaking Jimmy G to be decent for mayor. Like that's the only concern because I don't know what was going on yesterday, but that was just rough to watch. So like they got to figure that out.
Yep. So we've got Dalton Kincaid next. He's obviously someone 72% roster. That's going up. I doubt he's available in many leagues. Yep. Logan Thomas seems to be tailing off here. He had a good week, but it's kind of been hit and miss. Lately, it's been only the games where he scores a touchdown has he been usable. Jake Ferguson, who is someone I was all in on, he's another one where he looked really great, bad for 2 weeks, and then good again. But this is the thing. These tight ends, their average, the weeks where they're good, is when they score a touchdown. Like average, great, touchdown, great. Oh, he had this was the encouraging part early. 2 of the first 3 weeks that he was good, he didn't score a touchdown in, but I don't know. Ferguson's a confusing one because that whole Dallas offense confuses me. Parham, someone I've liked too. There's a lot of tight ends I've been stashing, but there's not a lot of consistency. Parham is basically just a big end zone threat to me, which is what happened here. He scored, so he was good. Cole Kmet is the guy I'm always in on who always disappoints me. He had 10 for 79, so I'm sure in the leagues where I need a tight end this week, I will be claiming him, which means he's going to put up 2 for 9 next week. Like, look at these fucking stats. These are ugly. This is the funny part. This guy's going to finish the season as like tight end 4 and have like all of it be. He's going to be Taysom Hill. He's going to finish as a top 5 tight end with only like 3 games over 10 points, and they're going to be 30, 25, and 40 and shit like that. And then we rounded out with Hunter Henry, who's fallen completely off the map for me since like week 4. I want nothing to do with him. What do you think of this group here?
Yeah, so like what I was saying earlier is like once you get with the talent issue at tight end, some of these guys, they're going to be boom bust for you. Like it could be the right matchup in the good game. So if you predict it right, it hits. The floor is just incredibly low with like these guys like Ferguson and Thomas, Parham, and even Kmet, because that's just a bad offense in general. Now they have Tyson Bagent. So like I don't know how well that's going to translate, but he saw 10 targets last week. So who knows, maybe that carries over. It's just if I'm betting on these tight ends, I want these young athletic freaks in good situations. So McBride and Kincaid are by far, like they're miles above everybody else. And then it's basically just pick your favorite, or you can go Ferguson because it's the Cowboys, Thomas if you want to go that, and then, Kmet's been solid, so you could roll with it. It's just, he might put up 2 points for you.
That's a lot of tight ends.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of really good potential this year with, just nothing but boom or bust, touchdown dependent tight ends. It's really kind of scary. My column has pretty much the same options. Shallow leagues, Kincaid, Kmet, Schultz, who wasn't on the list there. Medium leagues, Ferguson, Njoku, and Higbee, who I've lost all hope in, but it's a rostership thing. Deeper leagues, we got Logan Thomas, Freiermuth, and Hill, and dart throws, McBride, Mayer, and Parham. And McBride, I think my favorites on the entire list are Kincaid, McBride, Schultz.
Yeah, I don't mind stashing Freiermuth because he was really good last year, and he's been dealing with injuries a lot this year. But like it's also the same situation: bad quarterback play, offense isn't great, so you're running into the same issues you're running into with Kmet. I think he's just a better overall tight end. It's kind of the thing. Yeah. So like I'm more betting on the talent. But yeah, like once you get past those two, it's really just like a lot of these guys are super risky. And I forgot Njoku. Njoku's solid, and it seems like they're involving him more. So like he'd be my tight end 3 of the guys available.
I don't know if I want to call him solid anymore. He's kind of someone I'm losing faith on a bit in Njoku. I get he's had injuries and a lot of shit he's gone through, but he's not looking all that great.
It's been a weird year for him. Like it's just been a very strange year.
On fire or whatever.
Exactly right. And then he starts producing, so who knows what's going on?
Well, like what is he doing? Is he having inferno matches in his like living room? Like what is going on at Dalton or David Njoku's house that has become an issue for him?
Right.
Good God. So, all righty. Well, not the most exciting week, but that's kind of how it is. We're in the middle of the season. By week 8, it's kind of a case of there's not a whole lot of options. It's slim pickings. By now, most of the people who have emerged have already, who are going to emerge, have emerged. And at this point, you're basically just dealing with injury pickups. That's all that's going to happen. So, like I said, week 8, you've got typically 5-6 more weeks in most leagues. So we made recommendations, just much like in my article, though. I say, 10% or whatever. We're getting to the grim part of the season here. If you're 2 wins, 3 wins, or you're desperate, you're clinging to a playoff spot, and a guy, if you need a wide receiver and Josh Downs is on your waiver wire, shoot your shot. Take what you need, because you can't bring the waiver wire, or even in Dynasty, you can't bring, well, I guess some leagues maybe you can, but can't carry the fab over to next year. Fab doesn't do you any good for the playoffs if you're out and in the toilet bowl. So, if something comes up, if those quarterbacks, as grim as they are, if CJ Stroud's on your waiver wire, or who did we like there? I forget. Anyways, whoever
the quarterbacks.
Yeah,
it was like Kyler, and it was, who was it?
Yeah, Kyler. If Kyler's on the waiver wire there, shoot your shot, go for it. Like I said.
Yeah, if you like Will Levis, go get it. Like what we're saying is just go get your guys at this point, because we're running out of time. Like you can't take this money with you, like you're saying. So yeah, go get it. If you see Dalton Kincaid, go spend 30% of your fab. Like who cares, right?
Because I know everyone has the fear of missing out. That if I burn my money or my waiver priority this week, and this guy goes down next week. Well, you know what? Look at a lot of these leagues. Even if Jonathan Taylor goes down next week, his backup's probably already owned. I was doing this once. I normally do this like a kind of an appraisal. I'll go through and I'll look at the number. I do it as part of my waiver column, the number 1 option, and I'll look at what the rostership is for backups at all positions. And it's like, aside from quarterback, where most of the backup quarterbacks aren't rostered in single QB, you go through your leagues, even the backups in most of these 32 teams are already owned. Like, how many times can you go in and say, oh, if the Rams running back 1 goes down this week, the RB2 was free on waivers. Well, you know what? The RB2 was probably gone anyways, and you're wasting your money to pick up the RB3 in hopes he's the RB2. So, if a position of need comes up for you and there's someone who can fill it, shoot your shot, because we're in week 8 and, it doesn't do you any good living to fight tomorrow if you die. So, just buy these guys now, doesn't carry on. Do what you got to do to survive. Yeah. So that will conclude a rather exciting waiver wire. Catch us tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, because we still are working on a People's Fantasy Court for Wednesday. I will announce that on Twitter. We will be back Thursday and Friday at noon for the AFC and NFC home game previews. I believe Thursday is the AFC, because I looked and all 4. Look at, I do underdog prop articles for the primetime slates. Mm-hmm. Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football, and the London game, I believe, are all AFC exclusive games. So I feel like our first preview is going to be the AFC teams. And then, yeah. So looks like our NFC preview is all 1:00 games. So we will be here for that, and leading into Sunday, our noon live sit start show. So thank you all for tuning in. For Aaron and Jesse, this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Take care, everyone. Happy Halloween.